Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another video here on Free Will Photos. This is a quick edit, so let's just go ahead and dive right in. So here we have a photo of my dog, Mr. Waffles, and I have literally no idea what I want to do with this photo. I'm noticing that it is a little crooked, so I think we'll just go ahead and start off with a crop, and we'll adjust this so it's kind of leaning like to the left. And I get that just based off of where his eyes are. And so I'm just going to go ahead and rotate this a little bit. Maybe something like this. And that may not even be necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right. So what I want to do now is start with a preset. Now, normally I come over here to the AI style advisor, and that usually works pretty well. But what I like to do, or what I'm going to do today, is come down to one of these older presets, and I think I want to make this more of a dramatic color. Let's see what dramatic color does for this image. And these are essentially just LUTs. I actually like the way that this one looks. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and we'll see what it does over here in the effects. Now, you may not have this dramatic color preset pack, and that's okay. The idea here is just that I'm going to start with a preset, and I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And then we're going to build up this image to really get a look that I think is going to work out pretty well for the photo. I like what it's doing so far, but what I need to do is really get the basic tones adjusted. Now, typically I would start with Brilliance AI. Today, I'm not going to start with Brilliance AI. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and manually tone my image. And the reason I'm doing this is just because sometimes it's good to remember how to do the basics. All right. If we focus too much on using the AI tools and allowing them to do a lot of the thinking for us, it forces us to, or it could lead us to forgetting how to edit images. And I want to make sure that I remember how to use these tools. Think of it like the cell phone. We all used to remember phone numbers before cell phones and the storage of the phone number inside of a cell phone. Now, if you said, hey, what's your mom's phone number? I'll be like, I got to go get my phone to check it. Like, I don't memorize it anymore because it's saved. And that's essentially what could happen if you just always use Brilliance AI. Not saying don't use it. I'm just saying today I'm not going to. Off my soapbox, back to the edit. So the first thing that I want to do, looking at how this preset is kind of building up the image, it's kind of blocking up these darker tones. And I have a dark dog here, so I'm going to play around with the shadows just to see what happens. So if I pull up on the shadows, I can see it's opening up around these areas. So I'll just pull up a little bit. And I think that that looks pretty good. And notice that in this particular instance, I'm really just trying to clean up the look of the effect as opposed to getting proper tonality. And that's kind of the way that I like to edit, because the effect, or I'm sorry, the preset has already added in a bunch of effects that are modifying the image. So what I'm really doing is just trying to make that effect look the best that it possibly could, if that makes sense. So the next thing that I want to do, this eye over here looks a little dark. So let's just jump over to local. We'll add in a local brush, and I have an animal eye brush. And I am just going to paint this in. We'll grab the mask, and I'm already on the paint. And so now that eye is way too bright for this area. Cool thing about ON1 is I can just pull down on the opacity and blend it in until it's in shadow, but I'm getting some of that detail back. I'm not one of those people that is like, I have to save as much detail as possible. I'm actually more along the lines of, let's save the appropriate amount of detail. And eyes in photos, this is a dog portrait. it makes sense. I think that this is something that I would want to restore the detail in the eyes. I think overall the tonality looks pretty good here. And all I really did was open up the shadows. And that's kind of the reason why I didn't want to use Brilliance AI. I guess I should go over that. The reason I also chose not to use Brilliance AI is because I was trying to modify the effects over here, or enhance the effects, the look of the effects. If I had pressed Brilliance AI, it would have messed up the effect. Let me just showcase that, because I think that it's easier to see it than it is for me to explain it. And this is a different workflow than what I typically do, because usually I develop my image by using Brilliance AI, get the base tone the way that I want, and then I apply an effect. But for this particular image, because there's a lot of light and the tones were essentially balanced out of camera, I didn't really concern myself with adjusting the tones first. Now, this is what Brilliance AI is doing to the image. So let me just turn off Brilliance AI and then turn it back on. And you can kind of see it's not doing a terrible job, actually, to the overall edit. But I personally enjoy the edit that I have here because I like darker images, and this is giving me that feel. Your workflow, your style may be a little bit different than mine, and that's perfectly fine. So now what I'm noticing is this blue column that needs to get out of my photo. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the letter C, and I'm just going to crop this in. I'm going to use the original crop and pull in from the side here until I get that out of my photo. And I think that it's still telling the story. I'm going to leave this little negative space here because that helps keep the balance with this side. And I may even tighten it up a little bit more and then pull his eyes more into the center of the frame, and maybe pull in from the top. And yeah, so this is just personal preference. And now that I've done that, it does look a little off balance. So let me just try to rebalance the eyes, maybe somewhere around here. Doesn't have to be perfect. This just has to work for what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I think that I've accomplished everything that I would like to. So I'll go ahead and commit this to the image by clicking the blue check mark. And yeah, I think that this works out pretty well. Now, I need to take care of this blue bokeh ball in the background. It's distracting. I don't really care for it. So I'm going to come over here to my retouching tool, and I'm just going to use the perfect eraser. I could use the AI brush. You could use all kinds of tools to make things happen. I'm just going to use the perfect eraser, paint over it, and we'll see what happens. So we'll go like that. We'll let ON1 think for a little while, and it did a pretty good job at removing that from the image. There's like a little line here, but I could deal with that. You know, maybe I'll do another pass with a perfect brush, or perfect eraser, I should say. And there you go. I think that that works out perfectly fine. When you have blown out backgrounds like this, it is extremely easy for the perfect eraser to kind of take care of those issues. All right. Now what I need to do is kind of focus the eyes. And that's one thing that is not available in this particular effect. So let's just go ahead and jump over to the effects. We're going to hit add filter, and I'm going to go ahead and click on vignette. This is going to give me the option to add the big softy vignette, which is a very, very popular vignette. And you can see how it just darkens down everything. And of course I can increase the size to really like bring this in, or I can make it larger. So I'm actually going to pull down on the size to really darken in those corners. And then what I like to do is pull up on the opacity so it just is not as dense of a vignette. So if I turn this off and turn it back on, you can see what's happening there. And then maybe I can do something right in the middle here with the eyes. So we'll go to local, and I do this back and forth, okay? So I've already brightened up this eye, and maybe what I want to do is make these eyes a little bit brighter relative to the rest of the image. So what I'm going to do is hit add adjustment. I'm going to come up here, grab my masking brush. My gradient mask. I'm going to turn this to a vignette, and we'll just click right here in the center. And then I will pull down, make it narrow, and then I'm just going to pull out the fade. Now this is like adding in an additional vignette to the image. So I added in the big softy, and then I also darkened down everything else and kind of faded that out. Let me show you what that mask looks like. It just looks like this, and it's a perceived effect as much as and less of a visually seen effect. Like when people see the photo, they're not going to know like, oh, wow, you really darkened down everything. It's still showing the bright sunlight coming in from the left, but it's also darkening down everything. So even in the background, the counter, which is what that is, it got dark. The wall in the background also received a little bit of minus exposure or negative exposure, and the eyes are still protected. And that's essentially what I wanted to do, because I want to keep his eyes as bright as they can be without adding additional light to them. One of the best ways of editing light in an image is really removing it and leaving all of the other tones that were originally captured in the image or initially enhanced through the editing process, leaving those alone and just darkening down everything. It really does help with the overall edit. So now that I have that, let's go ahead and take a look at the before. This is what we came into ON1 with. Nothing wrong with this image. It was very clean coming out of camera. Some may argue that it could have used some noise reduction, but I'm not going to worry about that. And then this is the final edit. And now looking at it, coming from the original to the edit, it does look really orange. So I'm going to jump over to the effects, and I'm going to take a look at the photo filter, because I think that, yeah, that's where this is coming from. So with the photo filter selected, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and pull down on the opacity of this until I start to see a look that I like. And this is subjective. You could do whatever you would want to do on your image. And I think that about 43 is pretty good, because if I turn it off all the way, turn it back on, it's still adding that, I guess I like to call this the Wonder Year look, or the back in the day look. It's probably not the best way of saying it, but that's how I'm going to say it. I also want to take a look at the split toning. So if I turn this on or open it up, if I turn this off and turn it back on, you can kind of see what it's doing from a split tone perspective. And the teal and orange look, I think that it's fine, but it's too strong in this particular image. So I'm just going to pull this down just a little bit. And I think that that looks good. So here's what we came into ON1 with. And here is the final edit that I'm going to call good. So hopefully you found some value in today's content. If you did, smash the like button. If you got questions, leave them down in the comments section below. If you want to learn more about ON1 Photo RAW, check out the video that's coming up on screen, or check the description box below and sign up for a coaching call. And until next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.